let's do a little shopping. I think I'm in the mood for some new fall pottery. Oh my goodness, okay. These are kind of cool. Oh gosh, yeah, these are really neat. Ooh, I like these ones. Oh my word, but holy buckets, these are expensive. Oh my goodness. They're really cool, but oh my gosh, they're expensive. Yeah, this one I really like. This one is really neat. I just can't believe that price. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, y'all, I think we're going to be DIYing some pottery. I think, well, let's go DIY a vase. I think we can do this for a lot less expensive. What do y'all think? Hello, my darling friends. Welcome back. It is so good to see all of you, and I hope this finds you well and happy and that y'all are ready to do some DIYing. We're definitely going to get our hands dirty today with this project. So I'm starting to think about fall. I am trying to cling to the last remnants of summer, but fall is definitely on my mind. And I've been thinking a lot about my fall decor, which led me to doing some shopping or attempting to do some shopping. I thought it would be a lot of fun to just get some fun new vessels, a few fun new pieces that are more in line with the fall palette. And then I started looking and oh my goodness, wow, y'all. Those prices. I definitely have expensive taste, but those prices are a bit out of my budget. So then I started thinking, I bet we can DIY a vessel or two. So that is what we are going to attempt today. And I have no idea if this is even going to work, but we are going to give it our best shot. I think I have a plan on how we can do this. So when I first started thinking about it, I was leaning towards using some air dry clay, but then I realized I don't think I can pull that off because I really want a fairly large size vessel, and I just didn't think I could make that work with the air dry clay. So then I started thinking concrete. I bet I can do this with concrete. So that's what we're going to attempt. I think we're going to run out to the shop. I've definitely got a plan. I've got an idea on how we can construct a form and use some concrete to create a really fun, hopefully a really fun and cool piece. So let's run out to the shop, make sure I've got all the supplies we're going to need, and then we will go from there, see if we can pull this off. Okay, y'all, so I've done a little quick inventory of what I have hanging out here in the shop, and I think I've got almost everything we're going to need, except for I do need to make a quick trip to the Dollar Tree to get a few bowls and things. So I'm gonna do that really quick. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. That was a quick shopping trip. Okay, so we now have all the supplies that I think we need to construct a form for our vase. So let's go talk supplies and then we'll jump right into constructing our form. To help us create the form, we are going to be using some of these bowls that I got at Dollar Tree, and I really liked the shape of these. I think it's going to make a really cool base at the bottom of our vase. And then for the neck part, we will be using some plumbing couplers. We're also going to need some tape, some super glue, and of course we're going to need cement. And I chose to use this rapid set cement because it really truly does set up fairly quickly. So to get started, the first thing Michael and I did was we talked through an idea and of how we wanted to construct the base. So we are going to start by cutting down one of our bowls because I don't want
vase to actually look like a bowl. So we're going to cut these bowls into pieces and kind of piece them all together to get this nice cohesive shape to the vase. So to get this cut nice and straight, Michael's just measuring down from the top of the bowl downwards into the slope. We made some little dots, and then we will come back in and connect all of our dots, and this is going to give us a nice, perfect, straight cut line. Have our line drawn, we are going to come in with the Dremel tool and attempt to cut this plastic. Now, at this point, we were not really sure if the Dremel tool was going to cut through this, but y'all, it's working and I'm super excited. So we're going to go ahead and just cut this top part of the bowl off, and then this is going to connect to a bigger bowl, which will be the base part of our vase. Boy, saying that is such a mouthful, base part of the vase. All right, anyway, so let's go ahead and finish cutting this bowl. Okay, so I now have all of our pieces cut, and I did only use 2 of the bowls to do this. One of the bowls we cut into 3 different pieces because I really wanted to have this nice tapered form that kind of tapered upwards so that it didn't look like a big ball at the bottom of our vase. And then I'm going to use this plumbing coupler to create the neck part of our vase. Where I got stuck a little bit here was how in the world am I going to connect all of these pieces together? I did have a good plan of how I was going to connect the middle piece to the full-size bowl that I'm using for the very bottom of the vase. I'm just going to super glue those together, but I've got to somehow make the hole in this piece here a little smaller. So I decided to just come in with some tape and fill in this whole thing. And I did get really tape happy here, y'all. So I taped this all the way across going one way, and this is on the inside of the bowl. And then I did vertical pieces of tape all the way across, and then I flipped it over and taped the whole top side because I really wanted this to be super, super strong so that it would hold those top 2 pieces securely. This whole thing taped up, I realized, oh, well, I still have to put a hole in this so that my vase, is a vase and it's hollow all the way through to the inside. So I brought this coupler in, and this is what's going to be the neck shape, but I didn't want this hole to be too big because I didn't want to, destroy the integrity of its strength. So I'm just going to make this hole semi-small. So I've used the coupler, the neck shape, to trace around this, and I'm just going to come in with my box knife and cut this center part out. Okay, now it's it's time to start constructing our form here. So I've got all of my pieces put together, ready to be constructed and attached to one another. So I decided I was going to go ahead and use super glue to attach the middle ring to the full-size bowl. So the very, very bottom of our form is going to be a full-size bowl, and then this middle ring is one of the pieces that we cut from the larger bowl, and I am just using some gel super glue to glue these pieces together. And I will say, y'all, I did not care for this gel super glue because it did not quick set like normal super glue does. So I would recommend using a fast set super glue here, or a 2-part with an accelerator. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach these together, and I did have to set this aside to let it set up for about 10 minutes. And while that is setting up, I'm going to go ahead and attach the coupler, which is going to be the neck part of our vase, to the smaller section of our bowl. Okay, y'all, so here's where I did run into a little tiny problem. So I was able to get the coupler stuck just fine to that top plastic piece, but the coupler and plastic ring did not want to stick to that blue tape with the super glue. I'm not sure why. So I did end up coming in with some hot glue. I sat it on there, and then I just ran an entire bead of hot glue all the way around the outside edge to just sort of create a seal. Now we are ready to prepare our entire form for the concrete. And to do this, we really need to use some concrete tape or some drywall tape. This step is really important. This tape is kind of like a netted tape. That's the best way I can describe it. It is kind of like netting. And this is what's going to help our concrete adhere to the form. Without this tape, your concrete may not stick to the form. So I really think this is an important step that you do not want to skip. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to wrap this entire form with this concrete tape.
Okay, y'all. Well, we constructed a form, and I'm not too sure about this right now. It's kind of looking like crap. It doesn't look like much right now. However, I feel pretty confident that once we start applying the concrete, this is going to start taking shape and looking more and more like a really cool faux pottery vase or vessel, or whatever we want to call this, just a piece. I don't know what we're going to call it yet. So let's go start applying concrete now and see what happens. Let's hope. Let's keep our fingers crossed that this is gonna turn out.
Okay, so again, I'm going to use this rapid set cement here, and I did get this at Home Depot, and y'all, it was not very expensive at all. And I barely used a 16th of this box. I probably even used a little less. So I'm just going to go ahead and start mixing it up. I did not keep track of how much I actually scooped into this bowl. So I was just eyeballing it here. So I just scooped a whole bunch into the bowl and then added a little bit of water to this until I got a thick, very thick milkshake consistency to this, because I wanted it to be able to, I didn't want it super runny because I didn't want it running off of our form, but I didn't want it so thick that it was like clay. So I just kind of played around with the mixture a little bit until I got this really nice, super thick, milkshakey consistency so that we could adhere it to the vase easily. And then I did come in, obviously, after you add the water, and you just stir this really well until everything is well mixed. I did end up coming in with my hands and kind of mixing with my hands because the stir stick wasn't really working. It wasn't really doing it for me. And so I just used my hands to mix it, but make sure that you are wearing proper protective gear here. When you are working with concrete, you want to wear a mask because you don't want to be breathing any of this in, and you do want to wear gloves to keep yourself well protected. Now it is time for us to start having fun. And you know, here It's where I just took a lot of creative liberty and trusted the process, because when I first started doing this, things were looking a little weird, and the tape, the concrete tape was coming off. And one thing I notice here is this stuff does not stick very well to itself. So in the places where it's overlapped on top of itself, it kept wanting to come off. But I did notice that as soon as I wet it down with some of the concrete mixture, it stayed in place just fine. It was a little frustrating at first, but it all worked out. And this is really the place where you just have to trust the process. It looks really weird in the beginning. As I was going along with this, I was kind of questioning myself and going, I don't think this is going to work. It looks weird. It was just weird and funky, but trust the process, y'all. Really, honestly, trust the process. So from here, I just continue coating this entire form with the concrete until the entire piece is fully covered. At this point, I've almost got this entire form fully covered. I did want to make sure that I got some of that concrete down inside the neck, because obviously when you look down inside of it, you can see the inside of our form. So I did put some concrete down inside all of that too, to sort of cover it up and make it a little less noticeable. After I got the entire piece fully covered, and y'all, I will say I put this cement on very thick. If you get it on too thin, there's a good chance it's going to crack. So I put this on really thick, very thick. And after it was all on, I did come back in with some clean gloves, clean hands, clean gloves, and just start kind of playing with the form. The concrete at this point was sort of setting up, and so it was a little bit more moldable, kind of like clay. And so I just came in and started patting things and smoothing things. I did want to have a lot of texture in this, but at this point, you kind of just play and create some of your very own texture and kind of just make it as textured as you want or as smooth as you want. As I was working on this and patting all the concrete down and kind of smoothing some of the areas out, I did notice some of that netting, that netted tape showing through. So in those spots, I just come back in with a little bit more concrete and kind of pat it into place, which in the end, it turns out looking really cool because it kind of gave it that chippy look. So yeah, this is just one of those things where at this point, I was literally just playing in the mud. Okay, so we now have this entire vase completely coated, and y'all, I did put this stuff on really thick. There is a lot of texture to this, and I didn't know what to expect, but I have to say this is looking pretty cool. So after letting this concrete set up for about 3 hours, it's not fully cured at this point, but it's set up enough that I could flip the vase upside down to create the bottom. And for the bottom, I did mix the concrete a little bit thinner here because I did want this to have a nice level flat surface on the bottom so that it sits on our countertops or shelves or wherever we're going to put it nice and, flat and level. So I did mix it a little bit thinner, and then I just come in and start patting it all over the bottom of this to create a nice flat bottom. And as I was as I was putting it on, I would tap the vase every now and then to kind of level out and smooth out the concrete.
Okay, I've gone and washed my hands. That was a really fun, messy project. So I really do recommend either wearing, some coveralls or some kind of icky shirt that you don't mind getting dirty, because I actually, well, you can't see it. It's mostly down here. I've got concrete splattered all over the bottom of my shirt. So this one's a goner. Anyway, so the concrete is on. Now we're at the place where we just have to wait for it to dry. This is a quick set concrete, so it should be fully set up within 3 to 4 hours. So I'm just gonna leave it and we'll come back tomorrow. Fingers crossed it's gonna set up, it's gonna look pretty cool. So we'll come back, we'll check on it tomorrow, and hopefully it will be ready for paint. Good morning, friends. We are back and I am loving how this vase has set up. I think it is looking really cool. It took shape well, it held the shape, our form held up, nothing fell apart. It's looking really good. And I'm really loving the texture on it. I did decide not to sand it. I contemplated sanding it for about a minute and then thought, no, I really love the texture on this. I think it just gives it that authentically old, aged, found look. So I'm not gonna sand it. I did though, after I was looking at it last night for a little while, I kind of felt like, oh, I think I'm gonna make some handles for this. So I did make some handles. I made them last night. I'll show you really quickly how I did it, but I just used some air dry clay, rolled it out, formed it to the vase, nothing complicated, and then I let those set overnight to dry as well. So now everything is dry. It's ready to, we're ready to assemble the handles to the vase. I will let that set up for a little while, and then we will come back and do the final step, painting.
Okay, our handles are looking pretty good. They've also set up and are fully cured. So now we can go ahead and attach them to the vase. To attach these, I'm just going to be using some of this Gorilla Super Glue. It's a construction adhesive, and this stuff works amazing. So I do highly recommend it because it sticks to this concrete very, very well. So one thing that was a little tricky here is when I formed these, I forgot to mark them as to which handle went to which side. So I had to play around with them a little bit and fiddle with them a little bit to figure that out. So just a little side note, if you decide to recreate this and make handles, make sure you mark them as to which side goes where. So after I got them glued onto the vase, I am going to come in with some tape, or I do come in with some tape here, and just tape them on to let this set for a little while. And hopefully this tape is going to prevent any kind of movement while they set up.
y'all, so I've let the handles sit for about 3 hours. Technically, you're supposed to let this adhesive cure for 24 hours, but I'm too impatient. I'm ready to start painting it. I let them cure for about 3 hours. They feel very secure, so we're gonna go ahead and remove our tape and get to painting our vase. I'm so excited, y'all. So let's go paint and see if we can make this thing look even more aged and just super cool with a fun fall palette.
I am just using some regular old craft paint to paint this entire vase. So to start, I'm going to use some glossy paint because for the top half of this, I kind of want to have a few glossy moments going on across the top of this. And then I will come in with some matte paint towards the bottom and just kind of blend the two together. Because I really thought that would, help create that vintage worn look. So I am coming in with this is the base color that I'm using, and I chose a color that sort of resembled terracotta because I kind of feel like an authentically vintage vase would have been made with terracotta clay rather than concrete. So to achieve that terracotta look, I came in with just this really pretty orangish brown paint, and I will have all of the colors that I use listed in the description box for y'all. And like I said, this top half is glossy paint, and then I'm going to blend it towards the bottom with a matte color that is very similar. They're not completely identical colors, but they are very similar and they blend really well together. So we will just continue painting this entire vase until the whole surface is fully covered with our base coat. Now that we have the base coat on, we are going to start layering in a bunch of different colors here. And by adding in all of these layers, it's really going to bring this piece alive and just make it look very vintage and aged. So the next color that I'm coming in with is this black color, and I'm not dry brushing this on, but I am doing a very light hand here and kind of just messily slapping it on. I'm not trying to get a full coverage with this black because I do want some of that original base color to show through. Once that black color has set up and dried, I'm going to come in with a lighter color. This is like an ivory color, and you can see here how this ivory color is really starting to enhance those underneath colors. It's sort of bringing them out and just making them sharp and bold. So I will do cover this whole thing, and I am dry brushing. This lighter ivory color is dry brushed on with a very gentle hand. Then I will come back in with a little bit darker beige color, do that same thing, that same dry brushing technique, and just kind of haphazardly with a gentle hand, just sort of brushing this over the whole vase. And with each layer that we add, you can just see this thing start to come alive and just start to look really aged and really worn. And it's so exciting to me. I love watching this whole process happen. After layering in all of our dark tones, mid-tones, and light tones, I do come back in with a dry brush of our original base color and just very gently, ever so gently, brush on some of that base color. And it's looking so good. I love this. The only thing that I think I wish I would have done was textured the handles a little bit because they're pretty smooth and don't have a lot of texture compared to the rest of the piece. I absolutely love how this piece turned out. I have to admit, I do feel a bit proud of myself for pulling this off. When I first thought of this idea, I really wasn't sure I'd be able to make it happen, but I did, and I love it. My favorite part of this entire project is the fact that I created this piece that authentically looks vintage, and it didn't cost me hundreds of dollars to do it. All in all, I spent less than $50 to create this amazing piece. A big win for the bank account and for my fall decor.
Well, what do y'all think? I love it. I couldn't be happier with how well this turned out, especially for it being the very first time I've ever attempted to do something like this. So I think it turned out pretty good. What do y'all think? Do you think this is something you'll try? I really hope that you do, because it did in the beginning, it felt a little overwhelming, but once I jumped in and just started creating, this honestly turned out to be so much fun for me. I had a blast working on this project, and I really hope that y'all enjoyed it too. I'm loving it. I think it's going to be so much fun to add to my fall decor. I can hardly wait to start decorating for fall now. Although it might still be just a tiny bit too early for me, but soon we're going to decorate for fall, and it's going to be fun to add this to the fall decor. Alrighty friends, well, I guess it's time for me to say goodbye now. So thank you all so much for being here with me today. It just means so much to me that y'all are here each week and that you take time out of your day to come and hang with me. I really do appreciate and just love all of you to pieces. So I will see you again next week. We're going to be jumping into, I think we're going to be doing some thrift flips next week. So y'all come back and see me again next week. Until then, take care, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.